Welcome back, everyone, to another Mondays with Micah. I am excited to be here with Pam Wiggins. And this lady, I have known of her for many different reasons. So I have to give some history, y'all, because for some reason I seem to like to go back into the history books. If y'all are from Franklin, there is on Clay Street, when you are coming in from 58 through the Southampton Parkway area, which is, for you who know that, you're coming in to the city of Franklin from the county. There is the first beautiful white house with does it have a circular drive?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. It's the second house on the left if you're coming from that way in, or it's the next to last house on the right if you're coming from Franklin going out of town. Anyway, this beautiful house in the 70s, neither one of us know which year it was. It was either 72 or 73. My mother, Shelley Futrell, moved down here to teach at Franklin High School. Well, it may have been elementary. Franklin Elementary in the 70s, either 72 or 73. And she told me some years ago, probably as a teenager, that she used to rent an apartment. And you said it was a garage apartment?
Yeah.
A room over the garage. My mom lived with Pam Wiggins. Okay, y'all? So this goes back. My parents just had their 55th wedding anniversary this summer. So this is 57 years ago. So this was way before me. And so that's the history. And I had to jog her memory over the phone. Do you remember a lady with dark hair that came and was a teacher? She's like, yes, I do. I said, that was my mom. Okay, so then fast forward to 1981. I was born. And my mom was having some nursing difficulties, if that was correct.
Yeah.
And she had been told by another lady, Miss Hedgepeth was her name. She's passed away, and I can't even think of her first name. But Mr. Hedgepeth used to teach at what was Paudy Camp years back. And she was the advocate for nursing. And Pam Wiggins is a international author, is correct?
Well,
your book sold all over the world.
well, yes.
Yes.
Not to a large extent, but
It got out of the U.S. and into other countries. And this was early. So what year did you publish that book?
88.
88. Okay. So you were kind of developing some of this
Yeah.
before that. And my mother is a huge advocate for nursing to this day. And then when I became a mother in 2010, I was having not major issues, but some issues, dealing with some what do we call that? Knots, or I didn't get mastitis, clogged ducts. Thank you. And she said, I know who you need to call. And so when I spoke with her this past week, she said, I think we've met before when you had a baby. So she comes into mothers' lives right kind of from the jump. And that's not really maybe what we're going to talk about here today, but I needed to just give a little bit of history of Pam Wiggins. But also, I worked at Ace Hardware with one of her sons, at least.
I didn't know that.
Because you have how many sons?
Two.
Okay.
But it was Joe.
Joe, that's right. It was Joe. And I said, I think I sold your son's house as well. So we have history with each other from kind of a distance, and more from her children than with herself. But I'm thankful for her advocacy in the nursing field, if you want to call it, because I believe I have been very healthy because of it, really. You know, my mother would say the nursing had a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. And so she still believes passionately about this today. And so without further ado, meet Pam Wiggins.
Hello. Thank you.
Thank you. So I have to just go back. What got you started on thinking you should write a book about nursing?
Well, was working for the health department and for the Women, Infant, Children program, and they were encouraging breastfeeding. Because I could go off on a tangent about the formula that they give away, but they do encourage breastfeeding. And a lot of the women I dealt with were not very educated, and I saw a need for a simple to read question and answer book on a very low level of literacy. So I decided to write it. And
Excellent.
I wrote it on an Atari 400 computer.
That's before my time.
Printed it out on a dot matrix printer. But eventually I had it typeset and printed. And I remember the first time I actually sold 100 books, and the whole family was in the garage packing up that 100 books. And we're so excited.
Yes.
And then it took off. And
Wow.
That
was before Amazon.
Yeah.
Way before.
We sold in bulk to health departments and hospitals, doctors' offices.
Wow.
So.
And how many do you think you have sold to date?
Over 2 million.
I mean, ladies and gentlemen, I just have to give a clap for that, y'all. Over 2 million. Why? Because she saw a need. And here at the Widow Walk, that is really at the core of what we do, is that, there's a statement that says, see a need, fill a need. Fill a need. And hey, out of all the people in the U.S., why did she need to write it? But you felt this unction to do it.
Yeah.
And the simplicity of this book, because it's a small book, revolutionized mothers and really probably kept them nursing when they would have stopped.
Absolutely.
What are some of the testimonies that you've heard?
Well, the breastfeeding rate has improved over the years, and I'd say 70% of mothers start breastfeeding, but they don't continue. At the first sign of trouble, they quit.
Yep.
And even some health workers say, just give the baby a bottle.
You're right.
And it doesn't work. They're not as healthy. They're not as attached to the mother, and the mother's not as attached to the baby. I could go on all day about that.
Well, that's a whole nother topic. There's a lot of books about this now, what they call anxious attachment, secure attachment, I think insecure attachment. There's all these relational roles that are really kind of talking about adult relationships, but what it stems from is the childhood relationships with the core people in their life, which is usually mother and father. And I've read some into that to figure out which one which was more, I think it wasn't anxious attachment, but it's like, there's like distant attachment or something like that. So one kind of is a little more of the independent. Anyway, I digress on that. But I remember there was a hack that maybe my mom told me, but I think she encouraged me with it, because when I got nursing, my milk came in pretty quickly and I got very engorged, and it was painful. And I knew I wasn't going to give up. I had a mindset that I was going to go for 1 year. And I'm happy to say that I did nurse both of them for 1 year. And, but I did have some blocked milk ducts, and it was cabbage leaves.
Yeah.
The cabbage leaves is the hack, y'all. So when there is swelling and inflammation, that you basically get those cabbage leaves cold, even maybe put them in the freezer, but I think it was the refrigerator, and then you kind of massage, like crack them a little bit.
Beat them up to where the juices.
The enzymes are starting to open up within the veins of the leaf, and then you just stick them in there, and it feels like ice packets. And it gives a soothing concoction. That's not even the word I want to use. A medicinal element to it that helps heal.
It reduces the swelling.
And really kind of brings some circulation.
Yeah.
And so I will say this, Pam, that this was, I felt like a little bit of an attack, but I don't know if Gaynell mentioned it to you, but anyway, in 2023, I was diagnosed with invasive ductal carcinoma. So I went through surgery and radiation with breast cancer back in 2023.
Really?
And it was in the milk duct. Now,
That's very unusual.
I think you're right.
Because one of the advantages of breastfeeding is that there are less cases of breast cancer.
So it felt a little personal to me, to be honest. But we caught it early. And I'm believing that even though invasive means that it broke out of the tumor, but we caught it early enough that it, as I say, it didn't have time to tell its friends.
Good.
And so they did not find it in any lymph nodes. So I'm just bringing this up that in real life, like women, what brought nutrients to a child brought some trauma to me later on. Even though we still have to love these parts of ourselves. Okay, so, but in how many years now have you been a widow?
7 years.
Okay, 7 years. So she is now a widow that was an author before she became a widow. But what can you share with us about your widow walk story?
Well, the last few years of his life, and by the way, if anybody's watching, it was Pam Wiggins was my husband.
And he was, how long were you established in this community?
Since we got married in 71.
71, okay.
And he had frontal lobe dementia. And so the last 5 or so years was hard.
Wow.
And now I see a need. This is new.
Wow.
For a dementia booklet for family caregivers. And I'm writing that as we speak.
Ma'am, let me just pause right here. I literally on Monday night was at dinner with 2 friends at 3 Guys. The one gave an account about losing her father with frontal lobe dementia on Monday. And I said, do you need to come on my blog? Evidently not, because I have a first-hand account 2 days later, y'all. And she was the daughter telling the story about walking with her dad.
Yeah.
And how that she was so thankful that they had a medical directive with comfort care in there for a terminal illness. So I just have to say, I'm already like, you can't make this stuff up, y'all. You literally cannot. To say I literally just had a conversation, so it was for me the first-hand account of someone that I've known that fresh. It was this year, walking with a parent of something of that, and she said that the frontal lobe is the more hostile type of dementia.
Well, he was hostile for a while.
Okay.
But especially when we had to take the car keys. My son, Joe, came from Idaho, where he lives now, to help me with it. And he said, Dad, we gotta take the car keys.
Yes.
You can't drive anymore. And he attacked Joe. I mean, balled up his fist and was hitting him. And my neighbor is a deputy. And I called him and I said, please come over here now. And he came, and he happened to be in his uniform. So that kind of made a difference. And he explained to him why he couldn't drive anymore, that it was too dangerous for him and for the other people on the road. And he handed him the keys.
Wow. Now, what was the beginning signs that you knew something was changing?
He started for years. And I think I didn't know it was dementia, but he was not ordinary. He would start talking and he couldn't quit. He would just go on and on and on, whatever subject he was talking about. And I mean, I'd have to interrupt him, and if we were around other people, it looked rude, but he would have just kept on.
He lost some social awareness.
Absolutely.
Okay.
He did not know how to act in public.
Wow.
And that's the thing. It affects your reasoning. It affects your logic. And you just start acting crazy. Yeah. He would lend money to people. He would give money to people. He would buy things.
Impulsive.
Yeah.
Okay.
He would get up in the middle of the night and drive around the country roads, and I sleep very sound, so I never knew he'd even gone. And it was a mess.
Did he have any paranoia?
No, he wasn't afraid of anything.
So he was fearless in his own little world.
Yeah.
But it's this impulsivity would happen. So if he's waking up, he doesn't care that it's 3:00 in the morning.
No, time meant nothing.
Meant nothing. Wow. And yet he still made it home.
Miraculously.
Wow. So at what point did you feel like you needed to get doctors involved?
He just kept getting nuttier and nuttier and saying things that were very inappropriate. He never hardly said a bad word in his life, and he started that. And
Isn't that a symptom, kind of?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I've heard that.
And
which you didn't know at the time. Did you know that was a symptom?
no.
Okay. This is part of the education, y'all. I'm asking these questions so that you who have parents, the more we know, the more informed we are to make better decisions, earlier decisions. And none of us want to face this, okay? This is part of our humanity that you never saw it coming into your story.
Right. Well, before that, my mother had Alzheimer's for 15 years.
Wow. So you had some understanding.
Yes,
but that is
hers
different.
was different. Hers was entirely different.
Okay, can you explain that?
She didn't know anything. I mean, she didn't know who we were or where she was. And he never forgot any of that. He knew people. He just didn't have a filter.
Yeah, right.
And so in my booklet that I'm writing, it's going to be the different types of dementia.
Wow.
And how each one is different.
Folks, this stuff really gets me pumped up, okay? I just need you to know that there's a curiosity inside me since I became a widow of what do you have for the widow? They have a purpose in the earth, not just to exist after their husband passes. And my mind started going into this thing of, if we surrender our future days back to the Father and commit the time. So here for 5 years, she had to, your time was focused on him.
Absolutely.
Full time. Her full time. And I read something this year I think it's in June 23rd, the day before my birthday, is National Widows Day.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
And someone, there's different posts and sentiments, but one said that a widow takes her marriage as far as it could go. You finished it. You took it all the way to death. And even though death can feel very somber, I felt empowered that, like, there is this population of women and men in the earth who took their marriage vows to the end.
Yes.
And some remarry. And so I had to do some research in ChatGPT. Do we trust AI? I don't know, folks, but I'm using it more and more to ask questions. And I asked the question, how many widows and widowers are in the U.S.? And it said 14.8 million.
Really?
There's 14.8 million of us. And it was about 11.8 widows and 3.2 widowers. So the statistics of women widows in the earth are 3 times the men. And we have heard that statistic. It's like 6-1, or there's the averages. And I don't know why that is, y'all. I said, are we wearing these men out? I mean, is it us? Is it just, are we better sustaining after a loss more than the men? We may have some opinions. Most of the men do remarry, a lot of them. They don't like being alone. Women seem to be able to handle it longer. My grandmother was a widow for 23 years. She never remarried. But it got me curious, Pam, about if we committed that time back to the Father, what could he do with us? And I really believed that there were widows that were authors. And I never authored anything until after I became a widow. So that's where this spark of curiosity started to come up. Now, she was an author before that. But again, she walked through something else. And then you start looking for answers, maybe, and you're not finding them.
Right.
And then that prerogative inside says, well, I can do it. And there's a scripture that said she believed she could, and so she did.
Yeah.
So you like to do research.
Yes, I do.
And thank you for that. A woman is doing research. And so you've now been a widow for 7 years. So as the disease progressed, what happened?
Well, he eventually, at one point he had a heart attack.
Wow.
And when he was in the hospital, he got along fine with heart surgery. But they made a big mistake. They did not give him the medications that the doctor had recommended for his dementia. And he went for about 2 weeks without it, cold turkey.
And you didn't know?
No. And he went completely crazy and ended up at MCV in the psych ward. It was horrible. Eventually he got back on the medicine.
And it regulated him a little? Okay.
But he had completely by then he had lost his personality.
Wow.
He was content to just sit on the sofa and thumb through a magazine or watch a documentary on TV. He couldn't watch anything with a storyline, like a movie or anything. So I hope to never watch another David Attenborough documentary. I've seen them all several times.
Wow. Okay.
But eventually he did have a stroke, and he ended up back in the hospital, and that's what got him. He just went downhill from there. And he was on home hospice for a while, but it was a blessing when he passed. And I didn't grieve a lot. I'd already grieved.
I literally just heard that from another widow. And my closest girlfriend, we met when we were 5. She lost her husband 4 years after me to COVID. And he had some pre-existing conditions since he was 4 years old with heart.
Yeah.
And he got the COVID lung. But she said that there's a piece in the passing when you've been a caregiver, a long-term caregiver.
Yeah.
And so I completely understand that sentiment. And even when I was talking to the friend this week, she said you were almost praying for something to, I don't want to say take him out, but to stop the misery.
Yeah.
And that when circumstances kind of fall into place, and even though those sound like that's a sad story. Oh, they had a stroke. Your perception of that stroke was very different.
He got to where he couldn't swallow. And I made the mistake of agreeing for him to get a stomach tube. And he would have been better off just to go without all that.
Did he have a DNR or any of that in place?
Yes.
But again, those decisions, my grandmother was having silent strokes and ended up having this dementia but couldn't talk.
Yeah.
And they did not have the living will in order. And so it came to the point of having to make the decision about the feeding tube. And none of the siblings wanted to say no.
Yeah, that was me. I felt kind of pressured. Well, if you don't do it, he's just going to starve to death and die. But I made the wrong decision and said, go ahead. And it just made things worse.
And how long was he with that?
About a month.
Okay. My grandmother lived with a feeding tube, I think 5 years. I could be mistaken, but it was a very long time.
Yeah. I know I don't want one.
No. And these are the hard decisions, y'all, because then you feel like you're the one who killed him. Something, it feels very like you're putting it in your hands, and we know it's in the Lord's hands. The days are in his hands, but when you're a wife, you're the decision maker.
Yeah.
And you couldn't really discuss it with him.
Right.
So you have to make those heavy decisions. Now, so were there any glimpses of goodness in that last month of time with him, or was it just kind of decline?
He was mostly out of it.
Okay.
But the day he died, I had whispered in his ear. I knew he couldn't hear me. He was basically unconscious. But I said, it's okay. You can go. Go. I'll see you later. Because I have the faith that he's there waiting for me.
That's it. I mean, these are some emotional stories, y'all. So, I appreciate this, Pam. I have not really had a widow come on here to talk about dementia this thoroughly, and I'm so thankful that even though it can conjure up some emotion to talk about it, this writer inside of her knows that the message needs to get out, and so the purpose of the message has to override the emotion of us in the midst of it.
Yes. And
that takes some time. And so thankfully the Lord did not have me come into her life in the first year. This is now 7 years of her sitting with this story, which, there's another phrase, time heals all wounds. I don't know if I completely agree with that, but I do think time does allow us to process those wounds, and hopefully we can come on the other side of it where talking about it overtakes us emotionally and we're able to speak more clearly. So what I want to now pick your brain a little bit. Now, in the first year, there's a rule. You don't make any major decisions in the first year after a loss. How did that apply to you in your story?
I didn't make any major decisions. By this point, we were living in an apartment in my daughter's house in Richmond, and she helped tremendously. She and her husband.
How long were you there?
2 or 3 years.
Okay.
When he first was diagnosed, and he was seeing this gentle old psychiatrist in Virginia Beach. I can't think of his name, but he's probably retired by now. He said he needs to move from the family home. It'd been in my husband's family since the 1700s, and he'd lived here all his life. And he said he needs to get away. There are too many things, too many memories in his brain that are making him worse. All the people who have lived and died, and when we moved from the farm in Franklin to my daughter's in Richmond.
And how was the transition for him?
Didn't make a bit of difference.
Wow. Because I've heard that transitions like that can really set people off, kind of.
He improved. Well, at first we got an apartment.
Okay.
We got a small apartment, and we had fun making a little nest, leaving a big house in the country to an apartment complex. And we enjoyed
life,
making the move. Yeah.
Okay, good. So again, you wouldn't have thought somebody with that type of diagnosis, somebody would move. I mean, that's pretty bold to me. And that's an hour and a half from here.
Yeah.
And but then at some point you transitioned out of that apartment into the house with your sister. I mean, your daughter and son-in-law.
Yes.
Okay, great. So, sometimes us kids got to step into some stuff that I'm sure it was hard for her to watch that.
It was.
And was she a stay-at-home mom or?
Yes.
Okay. And so again, thankfully you had enough children to step in, because you're saying your son's in Ohio, and where's your other son?
Idaho. Yorktown.
Okay. So was he able to come and visit some?
Not often.
Okay. It is sometimes hard for us to face the reality of mortality, basically. Okay. Awesome. Is there some other thoughts you have you want to share, or does that get your point across here today?
Well, speaking of widowhood, like I said, I didn't grieve much at first. But when I took his clothes to the Salvation Army, I just went back to the car, and I had a really ugly cry. And I called Joanna and I said, I'm at the Salvation Army. I need somebody to come here, because I just couldn't quit. And she said, Eric, her husband, he's a half a mile from you. And within 5 minutes, he was there, and it was a big deal.
Wow. I mean, this is a page turner, y'all. I mean, this stuff, it just gets me. That could almost give you chills. Again, I have encouraged you, the widow, to call out. I know that we wait for them to contact us, and that is part of my mission here at the Widow Walk, to tell you and educate you, the listener, to keep in mind the widow and the widower. Year, 2 years, 3 years, we still need to be checked on. We don't have that spouse doing that for us anymore. And there's something about the human experience that needs to be remembered, that needs to be seen. And I'm so thankful for you listeners that have sent me a text at a random moment in time where I was feeling low. And so to know that she made that call and the timing of the Lord to have him be where he was prepared before she even had the breakdown.
Yeah.
He was en route, not even knowing that it was going to impact or make such an impact.
Yeah. Well, we have a family group chat, and it's that. I got on that right quick and said, I'm in trouble. Somebody needs to help me. And my daughter-in-law, who lives in Yorktown, she called me before he got there. So it was like the...
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Another life hack, y'all. Those group chats, all of a sudden, instead of the energy to have to text individually, sometimes they can get overwhelming for some of you with these group chats. But here, how old are you?
81.
81 with the group chat. And you weren't 81 then. That was a few years.
Yeah.
That was what,
7 years ago.
Yes. So then that put her at 74, I think. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. 70 or 73. It would be 74 because the 7 years were 81. Let's add correctly, folks. So at 74 years old, she's got her little group chat. She sends a little text. And look, these widows are still with it, y'all. They can do modern stuff. She's doing research on the internet. She's working on writing a book. I mean, I didn't know that when I came over here. It gets me so fired up about this. And so what happened after he got there that day?
He just sat down and told me everything would be all right, and that Jonah was in heaven waiting for me, and I had nothing to worry about, that they were going to take care of me, and
wow,
it helped.
It helped. Beautiful. And and so you just need community, y'all. And sometimes that comes through family, and sometimes it comes through your church family, and sometimes it comes through your community groups that you're in. You know, there's so many social groups in this area that people are a part of. For the garden club, you know, there's the Rueting Club, there is the Rotary, you know, there's so many different groups. Were you and your husband in any groups back in the day?
Not a lot.
Okay.
He was he was into anything farm related.
Mm-hmm.
And
did you think you were going to be a farmer's wife?
I knew it when I married him.
Of course, you had to step into that role. See, I'm a farmer's daughter. So, but I said I was a city girl born in the country. That's what I said.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I digress. I said, but I'm from Branchville, and I said I've branched out. I branched out to the city of Franklin. Okay, that's literally 20 miles away. But I branched out, and this has been so good, Pam. And so did you have any other heavy cries, or was that really kind of it?
That was it.
Wow.
I mean, I miss him all
Yes.
the time.
Yes.
And I dream about him a lot.
Wow. Okay. That's cool. I don't really dream. So that is not, I don't. I mean, I sleep, and I've tested my REM sleep, but that's not an area that's unlocked that I can remember. So I don't have interrupted sleep. I'm not saying you have interrupted sleep, but I don't know why. I mean, I don't know if it's a part of my brain that's just not as active in that way. I'm not saying I've never had a dream.
Interesting.
But I know people who, they know they dream every night and they can tell you.
Yeah.
That's not how my brain seems to work. But does that bring you comfort, you having dreams of him?
Yes.
And they're good ones?
Because I can see him.
Yes. Awesome. After my husband passed, because it was sudden, people were pretty rattled about that. And there were many within the first month who were unsettled of him passing, that he showed up in their dreams.
Really?
And they had peace after that. So the subconscious, y'all, is very fascinating. And however, for me, what I can say is when I came out of my sleep, the first year especially, I had a song in my mind. Every morning, a melody was in my mind.
Really?
Yes.
Well, that's better than dreaming.
And so in the book, in Psalms, one of the Psalms, it says that he sings songs of deliverance over us. And I said, that's what happened. Like, I had a melody every morning So there was no space for doubt or dismay because there was a song that came first. And so that was my truth. That was my experience. And then when you go to the scripture and find evidence that he is a father who sings songs over you, and they weren't all, they were songs I'd heard in my playlist or whatever, but all of them were encouraging. All of them had hope. All of them brought faith. And so that is really my testimony of not losing it after that.
Right.
That's beautiful. Do you have any encouragement for the listener as we finish up here? We've been 40 minutes, Pam.
You're kidding.
I told you, time flies when you're having fun. This, do you have any final thoughts you want to share with the widow?
It will get better. Get busy. Don't sit in a recliner and fade away.
That's good.
Get up.
Get up.
Get up and
Get moving.
get moving.
Well, I hope that you have enjoyed this. I'm going to continue to tell y'all, comment below, share this. If you know Pam Wiggins, I need y'all to share these stories. The further we go, the further these stories of hope go, and the testimony of resilience. A widow is a warrior is what I like to say. This is a warrior story. She had to do some battle moves in the spirit and in the natural to help her husband transition from here into eternity. And those are some pretty battle. That's a warrior in my opinion. And she may not have the uniform that's somewhere, but this is the beauty of the human experience, is to be able to walk with others and share sentiment of understanding. But here are two widows with completely different stories of loss in this community, to know that her family, who she married into, had such rich history in this area where the tilling of the land has been going on since the 1700s. Yeah. If the land could talk, y'all. And so there's so much in the scripture with agricultural imagery.
Yes. So
much. And really the Hebraic way of talking was to use what was surrounding you. And I took a Bible study one time, and they talked about the mustard seed. And, you know, there was those little necklaces that had the little seed in it. And it says faith as a mustard seed. But when I took this study, the professor said that when you go to Israel, that the mustard seed is really a weed. And they're these yellow flowers, almost like when you see on the road, when you see the wildflowers that are kind of spread. They said the mustard seed spreads. So I thought it was high and tall, but it was low and wide. And so the mustard seed spread. The gospel was spreading after Acts 2, and the imagery of the mustard seed, it's like you couldn't kill it.
Yeah.
You could not kill the mustard seed, these plants that would just spread all over the place. And that's what was happening with the gospel. It was outrunning anything that was trying to stop it. And here we are 2,000 years later, still sharing the story of how God showed up in our humanity and gave us the strength to walk through things that we may not have felt always skilled for or fully educated in, but moment by moment, he guided us. And she still has a smile on her face. There's still purpose that she is pursuing right now. I mean, an 81-year-old author to come again says, you know what, this might be your manifesto. We have no idea what's going to happen. This is legacy work.
We'll see.
We'll see. I mean, if she's done it once and it went bigger than you could have made it go, right?
Yes, absolutely.
They've said this with songs too, that some songwriters, they never know what song's going to catch flight.
Yeah.
And they really can't take credit for what catches flight.
Oh, I give the Lord credit for all of it.
The blessing.
Yes, I've had
Over and
blessings
above.
Over and above.
Over and above. Do we deserve it? No, but it's unmerited favor. That's grace, y'all. That's his mercy. So I hope you can find this lady. She doesn't even live here all the time.
No, my daughter and her family moved to Florida 4 years ago, so I moved with them. But I stay 6 months in Florida and 6 months up here.
And how did this happen? I was interviewing another widow, and that story was last week's with Gaynell Riddick. And while I was there, a phone call came through, and I guess I was being nosy, or the name showed up on her cell phone and said Pam Wiggins. I said, she's a widow. Tell her I need her story too. And she called her and she said, you need to talk with this lady, and here I am. So that's kind of aggressive. So I'm pursuing the story, and I was so thankful that when I'm like, Lord, who's next? Like,
Yeah.
It's kind of out of my control, some of this. But then right there in the midst, a widow calls, and she said yes. And so thank you for watching. Stay tuned for next week with more interesting stories right here in the Franklin, Southampton area. If you would like to be on the show, get in touch with us. Email us at thewidowwalk@gmail.com. Bye for now. Bye.
Thank you so much.